Hi everybody, Dewey the Duelist here. Have another deck profile for you today. I went to the Chicago Regional this past weekend on February 28th, 2026. There were 366 duelists, which meant the top 48 got an invite to nationals, and would you know it, I was in the top 48. I ended up being 43rd. I have heard the feedback in your comments that I'm not allowed to say that I topped an event even if I got an invite to nationals unless I was in the top 16 or 8 or 4. Different people have different opinions about what topping means, but all that to say, I did well. I got an invite, and I really liked my list. Of all 9 rounds, I actually only lost one round. Another round was a double loss due to time, and another round we also ran out of time, so I conceded that one. But I think it could have gone either way. So here's what I have for you. I have main deck, which monsters, spell traps, in engine, and then non-engine. I have our extra deck, and then I have our side deck. And then just to let you know who I played against today, 2 Vanquished Soul Canine, 1 Yummy Fiendsmith, 1 Draco Tail Magistus, 1 Mirror Match where I got bodied. That was the one I lost. And then a 60 card Sprite Azamina Dragoon Toad build. That was actually super fun. I got Click and Echoed. And then Pure Branded, that was the double loss because it went to time. Pure Mitsu, and then an Exo Sister. Okay, so I'll talk about some things that came up in each of those matches as we go through this, but yeah, let's just dive in. This first part we can do pretty quickly because nothing has really changed from my last deck profile in terms of engine. We're doing 3 Crocea, 3 Eldum, 3 Swen, and this is the order in which I like to see them. 3 Mancala. Sometimes I would side one of her out. And also 1 Manifestation, which you'll see. Then I would play 1 Vararoon and 2 Phonics. 2 Phonics I will never play less than 2 because this is how I ended games in a lot of states where I otherwise would have had to give my opponent another turn. 2 of these on the field was really, really powerful. Or if one got banished with Mirror Jade, which nearly always happened. Cool. For our spells, we are of course on 3 MST. I used to try siding one of these out and pretty much always hated it. So we're keeping 3 in for the foreseeable future. Vision, another great thing to see. Usually wait to do the draw 2 effect until you've thinned your deck a little bit so you can try to get some good non-engine after siding, or even before siding. 3 Chant. Chant is not as good as you think because it shuts off a lot of your combo lines if you need it as your starter. I play 3 Manifestation. I defended this in my other video. I think you should play at least 1 because it is like the one combination with Mancala, other than Ascendance, in your main phase that won't get you drolled. It also lets you set up your monster negate and draw phase. It's also kind of combo with Ascendance. If you have no other way to play, you just send Crocea or Eldum or something and then summon the back. Okay. And then 2 Ascendants. I could maybe do 3 again and do 2 Manifestation, but this just felt so powerful in the draw phase where this was only searching in the draw phase. And then 1 Mandate. Nothing super special about that. Okay. From there, non-engine. This was something that I had tested a lot before the event and I really, really loved in practice. 3 Book of Moon. You might think that seems like underpowered and not very good, but especially in game 1 before siding, I won every single game 1 where I got to go first, which was 5 of them. And Book of Moon is the reason why I won several of those, because in several of them my opponent had an imperm for Crocea or a Ghost Mourner or something, and I just chained Book of Moon to turn it face down. Yes, you can't use it as link material, but like well worth the trade. And in fact, against my Yummy Fiendsmith opponent, he held his imperm until the end of my combo, activated Nib, I activate Gossip Shadow, he chains imperm on Gossip Shadow, I activate the last card in the hand, which is the Book of Moon, onto the Gossip Shadow. And he laughs really hard and is like, I cannot believe that you used Book of Moon in 2026 and won the game because of it. And I said, yep, I did. This is also good for like turning things face down before the main phase, like something that Yummy would need to synchro with, or Ecclesia or Cartesia. There's a lot of things that don't like being face down right now. Fallen the Virtuous, really good. Often I would side out one of these, and maybe all 3 of these depending on the matchup. 3 Droplet, kind of speaks for itself, really, really good. You don't often have a lot of extra monsters to send, so sometimes it's hard to make it fully unrespondable, but whatever. And for siding patterns, I often would take out 1 each of these because seeing multiple is really painful, unless your opponent negates the activation of this, which they might. If you think they're gonna do that, definitely, send an Albion first. And then on the second one, you can send in Ecclesia, and then you can use the Ecclesia. Because it sends for cost, you can end up sending 2 in the same turn. I tried to do that against my Radiant Typhoon opponent, and he was too smart for that and did not fall for it. And also I sent the Ecclesia first, so he was like, sure. He didn't respond with Totem Bird. And then Called by the Grave. Really good card. It feels so sacky every time it comes up, and it won me many games that were otherwise going to be much more difficult to win. All right, speaking of Gossip Shadow, who is our wind spellcaster, we have one of him. We have one Totem Bird. We have a Phantom Fortress. I did hand rip people with this during the day. It felt very worth it. I didn't end up using the other modes for field or grave, but I didn't have to. We have one Zeus and one Typhon. I think I went into Typhon once and still lost the game. I also made Zeus once, but didn't win because I didn't have Downerd in my deck, which I think I'll rectify that in the future. 2 Albion and an Ecclesia, 2 Vararoon, 1 win, which I think I made all of one time. Great Flay I made almost every game to close out games. It's so good. I love it. Doom Eagle. This is also really good, especially if you are in a game state where your opponent really doesn't have anything in grave. This can get to be 4,800. Also, shuffling back Albions felt so broken. Against Branded, this is really good because they're trying to summon stuff back during your turn from grave, and you just say no. This was also really good. This is also great out to Denko Sekka. So if your opponent cannot get rid of this before the main phase and then they try to normal summon Denko Sekka, you just say, okay, Ritual Beast effect, target, banish the Denko Sekka. Now all your traps are back online, or all your quick plays. I was really afraid of Lunalight, and I saw 0 of them. You'll see something else for that. So this was in my extra deck. Didn't make it once, but you know, it was there. Cool. All right. And then for the side, again, I was afraid of Lunalight. Didn't see a single one. This was in there. Anything else that could make something big and unaffected, it's kind of hard for us to get over. So this was in here. Never had to side it in, but maybe a good insurance policy. 2 Sheena. I know that some people play her in the main. I think that's defensible. I always liked her in the side, and I liked her at 2 in the side because I did not like breaking on her. Whenever she resolves, it feels insane. It's such a huge tempo swing. I really like her a lot. 3 Fualos, just a way to slow down the combo decks. In some world, this could also be Droll. It's just we don't really like drolling ourselves. I mean, you know, we can add back from grave, but we don't like to do that. Book of Eclipse. Sometimes I would upgrade the Book of Moons into a Book of Eclipse. The problem is just that, as always, this can be ashed, and I feel like every time I activated this, it did get ash out of my opponent's hand, but you know, then an Eldum or something else got to resolve. Mistaken Arrest is really broken in this deck because, unlike Droll, it does allow us to draw cards, and it does allow us to add from our graveyard back to the hand, which Droll also does. But you can also activate this on your own turn before you pass. Note that it still will affect you until the end of your next turn, but that's not the important part. The important part is that if you're playing a mirror, they can't just chain all the Radiant Typhoons to grab stuff. Okay, and then this was something I added last minute, Anti-Spell. Anti-Spell is really important here. There's some text that says, both players must set spell cards before activating them and cannot activate them until their next turn after setting them. So what does that mean? That means that any Radiant Typhoon quick plays that you're resetting on your opponent's turn because you've destroyed them with MST, you can then use on your next turn. That's really good to know. Also, like, if this totally stuns your opponent and they can't do anything and they go to end phase, you can just use MST in your own end phase to pop Anti-Spell. The other thing that you do is if you have Anti-Spell and a Fallen in the Virtuous, you'll use Fallen in the Virtuous sometime during their turn. End phase, you'll use Albion to reset another Fallen in the Virtuous, and then in your next draw phase, it is now your next turn after setting it, and you can just use Fallen in the Virtuous to destroy your own Anti-Spell, which I did against one opponent and won. Someone behind me tried to shark me and be like, oh, didn't you just set that? And I said, yes, but if you read Anti-Spell, it has text. So don't be that guy behind me. Solemn Judgment, really good card. I don't think I activated it once. Even if I drew it, I had other ways to protect myself, so didn't get that far. And then, because I don't like people super polying me or using breaker spells, I do like Secret Village to go with our Gossip Shadow. Also, just the reality of time rules is that I'm playing a lot of things on the side that are just trying to like simplify the game state so that the games do not go longer than they need to, and I can just try to kill shot my opponent. Cool. So I think those are all of the important things I wanted to say. I did notice that my opponent, really good player, also on Radiant Typhoon, did really well. He was, I think he went X2. He also bodied me in January when we were playing. He played Extrav in his build, and he also played Shield Bear. So that's an option a lot of people are doing. I don't like it as much. I like my extra deck. I use all of it, or most of it. Book of Moon, I loved. Anti-Spell, I loved. Yeah, I would consider Sheena in the main. Otherwise, had a lot of fun, and thanks to all my opponents, everyone was super duper nice, and I had a great deal of joy playing against everyone. It was very back and forth, which I appreciated about this format. Thanks for coming along on this ride, and if you have any questions, drop them down in the comments. As you know, I'm always happy to argue with you. You can also find me in Discord, happy to chat there about any decks you might be working on, any theory crafting you're doing. The next thing I have built is Pumpkins. I'm having a lot of fun with that, but definitely not meta. Okay, have a good one. Bye-bye.